random places in my notebook and talk about latest theories and so on.
Yeah. So we're doing the podcast, but it's also going to look a lot like shitposting because nobody wrote anything down.
Nope. Anything happened on the internet this week? I can't remember.
Well, there was the dude doing a barrel roll. Some mechanic stole a plane.
Really?
Yeah. And it just like flew around and exhausted all the fuel and then crashed and somewhere nobody got hurt.
Did the mechanic get hurt?
Except for the mechanic, yeah.
Is he dead?
I don't know. I haven't found that part of the report yet. But
I hope he's okay. The barrel roll is supposed to protect you.
Mike Sarnovich has talked about an energy shift that's affecting precision instruments and planes and stuff. And that is affecting high-strung people or something or other.
I totally believe that.
Energy-sensitive people are feeling an energy shift, and they don't know what it means, but there's definitely something going on.
I was just complaining about that. I was thinking about writing up a post about it. Or maybe I actually did. Like everybody, all the... Some people appear to be coming out of it, but everybody was going nuts there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's the actual cause, the polarity phase shift of the moon, and the Nazi moon base, but
yeah.
Oh, excuse me, the Mars Nazi base.
They're at Mars
I always get
now.
these things mixed up. Yes, they've always been at Mars.
They've always been. Oh yeah, okay.
If you're truly woke, you know that the Nazis have been running everything from Mars.
Look, man, if you're truly
since day one.
If you're truly woke, you know that they couldn't be at Mars because the Earth is flat and they're in an underground base. Okay, don't try to. You're mid-tier here. You gotta be super woke. It takes a really high IQ to believe that the Earth is flat. Okay.
All right, that's what I hear. You have to be very comfortable with questioning the assumptions programmed into you by authority.
That's my joke. That's my joke for today. The
Okay,
only
good.
one I'm gonna tell.
The rest will be serious.
Yeah,
Let's,
100%. Also,
we'll talk in binary from here on out.
I wanted to tell you it was great because I checked in 5 minutes early for this call, and then you checked in 1 minute early for this call. So it's like, yeah, good job all around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, I leave the honor of beginning the call to the man with the greater revealed agency today. And at that point in time, I was in my kitchen making a milkshake because I hadn't eaten today.
Oh no!
So joke's on you.
Subsisting entirely on white monsters. And the smell of fresh cut grass. That only took 3 tries. And the smell of diesel from your restored 19. I don't know cars well enough to say sports car, but just something restored, right? A Model T.
Something like that, yeah.
Restored Model T.
Old T-Bird.
Yeah, there you go, Thunderbird. I'm trying to learn. It's part of my job, and it's slow going.
I think if I ever restored a car, I'd have to do like the guy from Flubber and just put Flubber in the T-Bird and fly it.
Yes, and I imagine that's a very woke allegory for something.
The only reason I would want to do it is so I could just go to other people restoring their cars and go, hey, did you try putting Flubber in it? Worked really well for me.
Wasn't that Robin Williams?
Yeah.
There you go.
That was actually a remake of an older movie where it was just like purple goop.
Oh, okay.
So the like concept a wax ball.
Concept was so good that it needed a remake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like Blade Runner or something really important.
Or
or Terminator.
Or like Five Nights at Freddy's. Or or what is it? Home Alone.
There you go.
The paragons of art in their fields. So you're feeling the energy shift too, apparently, or had felt it for a little while.
I was, and now I can't tell if it's everybody or just me right at this particular moment. I'm having a weird thing going on, and I can't tell if it's like maybe it's the iodine or something.
Mm-hmm. The apple cider vinegar.
I haven't done that since Tuesday, so that can't be it.
Okay.
I keep forgetting.
I did have that weird dream a little while back. I've been having more dreams that I remember. But maybe that's just the monsters.
Let me check the phase of the moon really quick.
I don't have too many of those. Except for the part when I was having too many of those, but that part is behind me. Now I eat milkshakes for breakfast, which is much healthier.
Yeah, that's. Are they at least like those high protein milkshakes? Like they
Oh no, this
say on the
is Bluebell. There's cookies and cream.
today. Oh, it's a new moon. Like today we have 2% illumination. So last night was a new moon. There you go. So
There you go.
if you're a half dog demon, you lost your powers last night, and you're vulnerable to all sorts of monsters, including what are those ones they attach to your head? I think it's called an incubus. Attaches to your head and gives you nightmares.
I don't know. I think the incubus is just the male version of the succubus.
I think it's both.
Okay.
Also important. Let me look this one up.
Okay.
This is going to be a great podcast. I can tell we're already getting into the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want to learn about the '90s band. Oh, it's like the old hag, except it's a demon in male form who lies upon sleeping women.
Mm. That's spooky.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should talk about if Q is real.
I would need to have a strong opinion on that, and I really don't.
Mm.
I'm willing to go with the flow on this one.
Mm-hmm.
There are people on both sides that I respect.
Yeah.
I would like to see a good debate on that subject, actually.
Oh, that's good. I'd have to know who Q is first. I'm aware.
It's Trump.
I'm aware of the Q. I don't read any of the Q like missives and postings and things.
It's Trump dictating directly to Roger Stone,
Ah, well, that's good.
who's just typing it up on his.
That dude survived a polonium attack.
Really?
Kind of. There was a thing during the election campaign where he got really sick, and he said it was a chemical attack by his enemies or something. I don't remember completely.
See, that's one of those things that could be true, but he's the sort of guy who would make that up.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Where it's he's the kind of guy it would happen to, but he's also the kind of guy that would do it for publicity.
Who would just say that's why I didn't go to work that day.
Yeah.
But really, he's just kind of psychopathic with impulse control issues.
Yeah, it's like Alex Jones will rip his shirt off because he's angry about the globalists, but he might just be doing it because it's a Wednesday and, he's Alex Jones.
Oh, there's something that happened on the internet this week.
Oh, yeah, he got banned from all the things at once, didn't he?
Yeah, but that in no way was that a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
That was all a coincidence.
It was just CNN telling Google or whatever, CNN telling Apple to shut him down, and them doing it, and everyone else following suit as soon as they get the marching orders.
I remember seeing Q on the news a week and a half ago and asking my sister, Is this like normal news? Have you heard of this before? She said she didn't know. She wasn't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, does the John Oliver crowd know that this exists now? Presuming he's still on the air?
Yeah, it's kind of
Or
weird.
the Colbert crowd?
It's definitely gotten big enough that normal people are getting the thing. They're getting the triple filtered boiled down dick dribble and thinking that's real news. You almost feel bad for them, but then you realize they still have TVs and cable.
Yep. And conservative principles.
It's the current year. If you have cable and still call yourself a conservative, you're done. It's too late for you.
What if it's a Roku?
A Roku? That's a technology box. That's different.
Ah, okay.
It's still dangerous, but you're at least not just plugging it into the wall.
So it's not quite like lots of boomers have it, but it's not boomer tier.
Yeah, it's not Netflix from your sister-in-law's account, but it is a step in that direction, right? You're cutting the cord, you're breaking the conditioning, you're waking up, you're fighting the system.
You're choosing your own conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite 4chan level stream of consciousness of the greatest machine learning algorithm ever created.
Mm-hmm.
Directly into your hindbrain, but it's getting there.
Mm.
Soon there'll be Roman saluting, and I don't know. What they don't really have that on Netflix yet, right?
Roman saluting on Netflix?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
They kind of tried it for a minute there, but with the Man in the High Castle.
Yeah. Oh, I think
But I think
supposedly
nobody liked that show.
supposedly they had trouble with Man in the High Castle because their promotional materials were like, what if the Nazis won? And it was just like a 50s household. People had houses and cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you're like,
And everybody's like, "Yeah, that looks pretty good."
you can get if the Nazis win, you can sustain yourself on a single person's income and have a family, and that's just normal. Hold on.
Versus today, the thing that I just linked says standard income for a full-time worker under 35 right now is $33,000, I think, which is more than I expected. But that is the average, not the median.
Yeah. So you got a lot of. It's not representative quite so much.
Well, that includes the millionaires, right? And I want to say that includes Zuckerberg on the high end.
Oh dang, that'd be pushing up the average.
How old is that dude? He dresses like a millennial, but that might just... Yeah, he's a millennial.
Go figure.
Yep. So that average includes his $67 billion net worth.
He's the anti-NEAT. He's the dark mirror.
Or is he the ascended NEAT? With his Asian import. The car.
That's what I'm saying. He is the NEAT that has come to save us all, but he's actually here to lead us into ruin. He's the anti-NEAT. Everyone will have to have his mark to be a nerd in the public square.
Dude, speaking of his mark, did you hear that he's trying to start up banking on Facebook? And like host financial transactions for stuff? So they're going to banks and asking for people's information.
Yeah.
For their own good, I presume.
They're like, hey man, if you give us your financial database, we'll give you our people database and we'll just trade.
They would probably go for that.
And the banks are like, well, I like money.
Yeah. I like having data that will produce a better credit report than any credit reporting agency.
Yeah, it's like, man, we could ask these people if they were married, but that's illegal. We could just go on our Facebook database to double check, and that's fine.
So you want to start a business, but I notice you like a lot of Gucci Mane's material. I feel that this would not be a good return on investment. We're going to charge an interest rate of 25%.
I mean, that's already happening in the academic sphere. Apparently, some guy went to the college board for his application for an interview with one of the administrators, and the administrator was like, "Well, I see you followed Alex Jones on Twitter. Do you have anything to say about that? Not tweeted about him, not supported him, but followed him on Twitter, right? You're aware that this guy exists and you have access to this information. Are you sure you're welcome here at this school?" And so he lawyered up, funnily enough, and the lawyer went on her social media accounts because, of course, it's a she. And the female school administrator had a Bernie Sanders thing, so it's kind of a clear case of political bias.
Well, Bernie Sanders is just a moderate rightist. If you're this gal,
It's normie tier leftism at this point, but it's a clear political thing, and it would be very embarrassing for the schools that they settled and they gave the kid everything he wanted and got him through the process, which is kind of weird, right? You're like, yeah, I lawyered up and I took it to you, and now I can get into your
now I can associate you with you for 4 years.
Yeah, now I can spend 4 years in state indoctrination that I'm paying for. I earned that right by beating you. They're like, oh no, you got us. I guess we'll just have to sculpt your mind like clay and make sure all of your friends are crazy communists.
So, just make that check out to
Yeah.
directly into my bank account for $80,000, and we'll give you your economics degree.
So it's the current year. Why isn't anybody still going to college? And the answer is because you still need it for certain things.
Was that a rhetorical question? Because I will spurg.
Go for it.
All right. So the reason people are going to college is because that is the only way that anybody has ever heard of. Generation Z has heard of trade school, so that's nice. But millennials have never heard of trade school, and if they did, like only in passing, and they don't really know what to do with it. Like,
Right.
I have said seriously in the past that I would like to be a plumber. I still haven't figured out how you actually become a plumber. I don't know if you join a union or what.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a pipe fitting school that I drive by a lot, and I went in and asked them about it, but I don't know. Is that what you do to become a plumber? So this isn't something that you're prepared for. Like politicians now are finally on the boat where they're saying everybody needs to get a 2-year degree, right? So
Which
that's
is
nice.
a
But
huge
all these
victory, right? Rolling back the amount of years you're supposed to be in school. That is damaging
Yeah.
for the priests of academia.
Yeah, and community college is already effectively free college. Like that's the Bernie Sanders position, right? And
Yeah.
that is already state subsidized to the point that, like, it's still financially ruinous if you don't have $1,000 lying around.
But you can pay it off if you get a job afterwards.
Yeah, or you could legitimately work through school if you're living at home and come out debt free, like the boomers say they used to do with normal college.
Yeah. We used to be able to work part-time and do it. Now you can work part-time if you've got your family bailing you out, kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember my mom and dad suggesting that to me when I was going to regular college, and just thinking, what reality are you living in?
Yeah. Well, you should have taken that. You should have been like, sure, yeah, let's figure out how much it costs and how much I'm going to get on minimum wage to see what the bills are. So it's like tuition is umpty bajillion, and this is this, and this is this. Oh, it looks
they
like...
have never once wanted to talk about numbers. They're not very good with numbers.
Oh.
They're actually really bad with money.
That's actually...
Go figure. Like all they ever want to talk about is the attitude, and okay, now you go figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care how, just figure it out according to these requirements, and let us know, and we'll support you. Except it's like that motivational poster that says, "Be yourself." No, not like that.
Yeah, I remember that one. It's funny how many people, like, I might have to do posts on that to be like, here's how you balance a fucking checkbook. Here's how you do a budget and figure out how much money you're making, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get a sheet, you estimate all your bills, you tally them up, whatever's at the end of the month, that's what you got. If you want more money, you gotta cut it from somewhere. Like,
Captain Capitalism's book is actually pretty good for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I figure between him and Dave Ramsey, you can do okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dave Ramsey is very blue pill, but it's also like he has a lot of good advice, like the debt snowball type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's heard of the debt snowball by now, but there's a bunch of other shit like, he's the one that says gold is like a low rate of return investment, so you would actually want to go with something bonds instead.
Mm-hmm.
But you add the red pill perspective of that. It's also an excellent way to transmit wealth down generations.
Yeah.
So there's that other thing.
The generational wealth is the problem, where it's like people aren't interested in that anymore, and it's well, we don't have 2 weeks of bill money in our house. How would we save anything for our kids? We don't have any ourselves.
Yeah, and the boomers are fundamentally opposed to the idea, so there's that too.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to transmit wealth, you do it with land and guns.
Mm-hmm.
Not land and guns, land and gold. Because those are and land, could get confiscated at any moment. So gold is mobile and land is an actual resource.
Yeah, everything has its own risk.
So those are kind of the two fundamental types of wealth: is gold and land, and power, which is why I my head was off on guns for a second there. And so, right, the reason that was one of the reasons is nobody before now had even heard of 2-year colleges, or like they always told you you're going to die in the street, right? Versus if you go to college, that actually does genuinely give you a boost to your earning potential.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble is, it's often not enough, and it's very dependent on what you take. So, average increase in real earnings with a college degree is 1,500, or it's 1,300, which is not a lot. It's 1,300 for somebody with a bachelor's, 1,500 for a master's, and 3,400 for a professional degree. So that's your PhDs, doctors, so forth.
Is that monthly?
But no, that's yearly. But that's over and above what they were making in 1984 versus everybody else has gone down since then.
Mm-hmm.
So that the average is down to 33,000, like I was saying.
Mm.
And people who are working like not in a professional capacity are way down. It's just the average that's kind of stuck, and that's not accounting for inflation or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it sucks out there.
Yeah.
Like even with the job market in the best place it's been in years with the Trump stuff,
Mm-hmm.
People
still don't want to raise prices.
No.
Or raise. They don't want to raise prices. They want to pay more for labor.
Yeah, they're fighting tooth and nail. Like you're finally starting to see signs on the windows, like at McDonald's, saying starting at $11 an hour, which is a massive improvement over what it was 3 years ago. Where that's like up 50% in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, $11 is a lot bigger than minimum wage.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, part of that is just because they can't freaking keep people. They can't keep workers anymore. So the churn is starting to really affect people. I'm seeing in the professional world, the churn is starting to kill what's called original equipment manufacturers. These are like machine builders.
Yeah.
The churn there is enormous. Like they burn through people like every 2 years in like professional capacities, which like normally you would have expected like 3 and 4 years not long ago, because it was this mercenary economy. But now it's even worse. Like they'll get somebody, they'll completely destroy this person on their, give them like 5 projects at a time.
Oh.
And say you need to deliver this in a week. Do that for 2 years and they're gone. It's like,
and never coming back.
Yeah. It's like, nothing personal, but I hate all of you now. I can't stand to see you. And
those people are expensive to train.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they're
you can't get somebody up to working speed in 2 years.
Like, it's really weird that people are taking all of these long-term investments and trying to squeeze them into the shortest time frame they can. It's like, look, man.
Well, I blame this on lower average intelligence and like management and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is our selection creeping upward into Belmont.
Well, it might be a character thing too, where it's just
that too.
People are smart, but they're just shittier human beings. So they're doing the easy, convenient thing instead of the thing that they know is going to work long term, but is hard.
Right. And part of that is a loss of conscientiousness in like studying for your degree as an MBA or as an engineer or something.
Mm-hmm.
So then because the demand is so high and the supply is so low for somebody who's a project manager on like an electrical engineering project in this region. Maybe there's a lot more supply out by Stanford or something, but here there's a lot of demand, not a lot of supply, and people just don't study as hard as they once did. I mean,
they take that lower bar and they lower themselves to it.
Yeah, and the Jews are starting to complain about this with their crowd. They're saying like, what happened to all the smart ones? What happened to all the hardworking Jews? They're not doing so good at Harvard. Like you don't see them in math Olympiads as much. It's all Chinese. And math is about half smarts and half, if you're talking like competition math, it's about half smarts and half conscientiousness. And you're seeing pretty significant drops in both of those.
You gotta have the raw ability to do the equations and everything, and then you also have to take the time to do it and then get all the details right.
Yeah, because if only just practice writing out your the answers to your problems, requires conscientiousness. You could, because there's a mechanical skill aspect to that where you just have to be good at writing quickly and cogently and making a good argument on paper. And that's, like, you pick that up quicker if you're smart, but you still need to put it in the work.
Yeah. No, my handwriting is pretty awful. I don't like writing things down, so that would be a thing that I'd have to spend actual work time on.
Yeah, I did that back when I was about 20, 21. My handwriting was god-awful.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I just got upset with it. I'm like, nope, no longer. And so I started writing smaller and nicer, and just it wasn't too hard, but it did take. It was like learning a new keyboard style, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, you just got to put the time on it. That's what a lot of things boil down to, is putting the time and energy to something.
Mm-hmm. And you have to be, you have to not be okay with the thing continuing, which, another problem. What was I complaining about before? This was some good ranting, but we were talking about...
I'm pretty sure we were talking about college, and people don't even know what 2-year degree programs are in the trades.
Oh, yeah. Fortunately, we're getting better about that because everybody's catching on that this college thing is not going to end well.
Yeah, and apparently Caterpillar and different companies like that, they've lost like a generation of workers in there.
Oh, it's a lot worse than that. You can go a long time without seeing a millennial in some of these, in like engineering offices. Because we just aren't putting out very many of them, and then they completely lack, because nobody wants to train yet, right?
Right.
And this is a long-term human problem. Is the only time anybody's hiring is if they need to fill a hole, right? They need to fill a spot badly.
Yeah.
And that means that they're already behind on their work. They're already hurting. They have shit backed up, and all of their good people are working overtime. So, typical week is already 55 hours, and now you're adding like backups. So now your best people are working 80 hours.
Yeah, you don't want people doing training time during that either. So they're like, okay, show them the ropes. What do you mean, show them the ropes? I'm up to my eyeballs right now.
Yeah, no, we need you to babysit this thing that came out of like University of Purdue, thinking it knows how anything works, and it doesn't. Right? It's got an attitude and zero experience. So train this, please.
We're not going to give you any extra time or deadline. We're not going to extend your deadlines or anything. Just do it while also doing all the other things we need you to do. And most people either go, here's 5 minutes of how to do stuff, or sit in the corner and don't break anything. Let me do my work job. And you just have to like watch them. Yeah.
It occurred to me earlier this week that training your own replacement is not unlike digging your own grave, like in Cambodia or something.
Yeah.
Like there's a little flavor of that to it. So I can understand why people are not all that interested in training new people in. So they just don't have any of them, right? You see, like you go into an engineering office somewhere, and it's going to be 20 baby boomers, like people trying to head toward retirement, but they're actually just trapped, so that's why everybody's treating them like shit. Because they got no retirement. And you'll find one millennial in there and maybe 2 Gen Xers. And, like, you know, the boomers have 35 years of experience with the company, and then you put the one millennial and the 2 Xers together, and they've got 10 years. And yeah, we're gonna have this is gonna become, so you know, you heard it here first. This is gonna become a crisis of like nobody knowing how anything in particular works. Just entire companies completely disappearing for lack of workforce.
Oh shit! People are like, because nobody writes down procedures or anything too. Like
exactly, yeah.
Not even people don't do that, but also the functionality isn't there. It's really hard to document things completely enough that someone else can pick it up behind you. Normally you have to show somebody the ropes, and it takes time out of your busy deadline racing towards.
Yes. Documentation is a form of altruism.
We're going to forget how to do entire industries worth of jobs. We're just going to not know how to do them anymore.
I would say entire applications. Like, I don't know. We're going to have entire, very, very specialized machine builders, for example. Mm-hmm. When they disappear, people are going to be like, all right, I'm going to fill that need now, and have to reinvent a lot of these styles of machines.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to become a crisis all of its own, probably 15, 20 years.
Now, the cool thing is that everybody's learning it on YouTube, all the hobbyists and amateur people. So you might see a bunch of new startups or something on small-scale things. If it's like, how do we make this machine? We need to make this one machine, and we can't make it in-house. Well, we'll get this consulting firm, because I hear they know how to do that machine.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we innovate a lot of these problems away, where we're just doing things differently or more cheaply already, because we got the collaborative software to expedite it. But
well, this is the thing with healthcare, where everybody wants Medicare or whatever. So here's the deal: doctors are very expensive to train, and there's no downward pressure in that. There's a little bit in nurse practitioners, but that's still like a 6-year degree or something. So all of the healthcare stuff is engineered to be very expensive and professional, but the people paying for it are being really squeezed. So you, like, when you have when the people are too expensive to train, and then they don't make you as much money as they used to, because those expensive people have to treat drug addicts and work at the Dilaudid Hotel instead of treating paying customers, you either reduce your requirements so you get shitty medical professionals to deal with your shittier clientele, or you just spread them thinner, right? There's no other option. It's impossible to do other than that, right?
There's a tragedy of the commons that's helping to drive that. Like, the EMTs will complain about being taxis, that kind of stuff, but the Dilaudid Hotel is a complex and really sad problem.
And it's like, you can't just mandate, you can't throw money at it. You can't just mandate people to, like, a lot of this problem is attempted to be solved via paperwork, right? You're like, well, you only spent 5 minutes in this person's room. You've got to document that you spend more time in their room, right? And then the documentation takes more time out of your day you don't have. In result, administrators cover their ass. People on the ground have less time to actually care for their people.
Yeah, and a little bit of real talk here, because I'm no longer anywhere near that industry. That documentation is not always correct. You might have your legal signature on there, but I'll tell you what: when you put your signature down 100 times in a day, they cease to be as significant each time.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you the reality of it. It's not always in your best interest to be entirely honest in that industry.
I mean, you can't be. You have what is the deal? You have 8 patients, and you're supposed to visit each one of them
for 2 hours a day.
Each hour, each hour you're supposed to visit 8 patients and do all your things. And it's like, do the basic math on that. You got 60 minutes in an hour, you got 8 patients. Let's see what we got. And then what was it? 60 minutes divided by 8 people. That's 7.5 minutes per person per hour, right? You can spend 8 minutes. It takes longer to wipe somebody's ass than 8 minutes. Like, you can't get somebody in the shower for 8 minutes.
No.
You can't go in and ask them how their day is for 8 minutes, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter what kind of paperwork and rules you have. If it can't happen, it won't happen. All that's happening is you get your signature on it.
And the reason for that is to pass all the liability down the chain, right? This is the opposite of extreme ownership, is the idea that, like, we're going to sell everybody the moon and then tell the nurses to make it happen.
Yeah.
And if they don't, we'll sue them and fire them because...
Right, it was their fault. It wasn't our shitty rules to be compliant with the thing. Like,
It's not that we gave them 20 man hours to get through on their schedule, and then we gave them 8 hours instead. If you hit overtime, we're going to suspend you for it. Except nurses probably work ridiculous schedules. I assume that 8 hours is a pipe dream.
Yeah, it's 12-hour shifts usually.
Yeah, medicine is pretty fucked that way. I had a roommate once who was a plastic surgeon, and his advice was never to get surgery ever if you absolutely can't avoid it.
I agree with this.
Because this dude is working those 30-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the patient that's on the table in hour 24 of his 30-hour shift.
No. And he's wondering if he just popped his caffeine pill or the Dilaudid that he was supposed to give you.
This is not a joke, people. Anybody hearing this is not a joke. This actually happens in real life. Don't go to the hospital, you'll fucking die.
Okay, so don't be autistic about it. But seriously, like there are some issues.
Let me break that down into autistic speak, I guess. Okay, there is an entire class of risk that you are taking going to the hospital that you don't know about. You're going to go up there, get prescribed something that the guy didn't know you were allergic to, and you're fucked. There are a lot of different ways it can go wrong, and if you just have the flu or something, it's not worth it.
You go in with a sore elbow, you're going to come out with a staph infection.
And it's like, oh, your knee's hurting. Let's get some steroids in that knee so you feel better. Oh, look. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't feel the pain, so you wore out all the cartilage in your knee, and you can't walk. I guess you'll need a knee replacement, guy. That happens.
Yeah.
So there is no substitution for taking your own responsibility, doing the squats and deadlifts, and eating milkshakes in the morning for breakfast. Squats and deadlifts, exercise, eating right, will solve 80% of your health problems. The rest of them you might need a doctor for. You're going to have to do some shopping. And you're going to have to look it up yourself.
The best comparison would be, it's like university. You got to go in with your eyes open. Mm-hmm. Because you will get fucked. You'll come out in worse health with $1 million worth of medical bills.
The doctor has 5 minutes to think about you and about 80 pages of medical charts that they can flip through. They're not going to flip through those 80 pages of medical charts in 5 minutes. Nobody is.
No. If they were that smart, they'd be doing something else.
So I have family that's in the medical field. My family member actually looked through the charts and then needed overtime because those charts are horrific, right? Found things that possibly saved these people's life. Found medical things that just didn't get passed through the chain. That it's like, what do you mean you had water in your lung? Oh, no, nobody said anything about that. Nobody said anything about you got water in your lung. Did she get in trouble? It's 5 charts down. So after enough days of asking for overtime, the people came in, the corporate, they were like, well, we need to see how we can help you get your job done because it looks like you're taking a lot of time to do these tasks and nobody else seems to have that problem. So
because they can't read.
How can we help you increase your output to the normal level? And so it's like, oh, I'm working my ass off to give people care above and beyond everything. So the end result is the good people quit, and then the other people stay there and are burnt out, and they don't give a damn.
Nope.
And they sign all the forms, they lie to your face, and then they get you out the door because they need to see, 20 patients in an hour. By God, they're going to see 20 patients in an hour. I don't care what you have.
And she's getting home because her kid's getting out of daycare. Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, I leave at 3 no matter what. What? You're dying on the table? I leave at 3. Somebody will get it.
I saw. So I was. I don't want to get too specific, but I was working in a nursing home. Power goes out, and the single mothers fled the building. It's like, okay, so the oxygen machines are down, but it was end of shift, and they were not having it. Mm-hmm. It was like 15 minutes until the shift was supposed to switch over, and they just noped all the way out to the parking lot.
Yeah, and it's like, what? These people will die. They're dying anyway. I got kids.
Exactly. It's the I got kids thing, which, it's true. That's the correct order of priorities for them. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying shit's fucked. These things add up. Mm-hmm. And it's more than additive. Like the single mother problem, the employment problem, these things feed on each other.
It's a miracle that anything works at all.
Yeah, it really is. And sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it's a miracle. It's a testament actually to the human desire to survive that anything works at all, because people it takes longer than you think for anything to break down. It's the same way with the human body. Mm-hmm. You would think that this guy that's been smoking actual tar with no filter for
I just pull
for
up a
30
little bit
years
of
would-
asphalt and roll it in my cigarette. It's not the same thing.
Yep.
And that guy is 40 years old and he needs a heart transplant, but he's still alive, and you're going to pay for his heart transplant.
And you know what? You give him the heart transplant, he's still smoking that black tar.
It's like, are you done with the black tar? No, I tried to quit it by going on the alcohol, but now I just do both.
It's
Look,
just so natural, one hand then the
Can
other.
I get some pain pills? Because it's like, I have a high pain tolerance, and it's a 10 right now. So you got to give me the good stuff. Dilaudid doesn't work on me. You got to give me the, what is it? The the one that's the super one that'll kill you, the heroin derivative or something. Fentanyl. I need the
morphine?
fentanyl.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, morphine's cheap shit now.
Man, I don't even know. That's probably what they're doing in middle school.
like, morphine is a low tier now. They just give everybody morphine.
I don't know
I
if
don't
I'm
actually
supposed.
know about that. Don't take me on that word.
I don't know if I'm supposed to relate this or not, but I guess we're like in we're remember the Chinese Opium War?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's happening to us,
Maybe.
and that makes sense.
Kinda, sorta.
I hadn't realized that before, but that is exactly what's going on. Kind of reframes that whole thing.
It would be nice if we had a wall on our southern border to keep all these drug smugglers out that rape children. That seems like people you'd want to take out, right?
That is part of the problem, but I guess so. Who was it that sold opium to the Chinese?
I think it was the British, like their empire.
Yeah, and I've heard it was also the Jews, but we'll just say mercantilists.
Yeah.
So the opium problem, even with like the cheapest free morphine cheapest free heroin that the kids are doing in high school now,
Mm-hmm.
which probably has a significant effect on why they don't want to like even get cars and drive.
Homeschool or die, by the way, just so in case nobody's heard that before. Homeschool or die.
Yep,
Literally.
public school is child abuse, literal child abuse. Like, I'm not even saying that ironically. Like, you send your kids to a public school unless you're in a nice area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking like you can let your kids walk to school.
Unless you're in a place where your public school is basically a private school because everybody's rich as fuck around you.
Yeah, you keep your kids out.
And even then, you're not guaranteed. Those places, you think they're safe, so more things can go on there.
Yeah, but somebody is flooding this country with cheapest free heroin, and that is another big part of the problem.
Mm.
So it's happening on the legit side with the Dilaudids and the what have yous being prescribed for fucking elbow pain, and it's happening on the not legit side too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're talking like we're basically under full spectrum attack by the entire society on an individual level. Did you see my bit about choosing between different types of detergents that I just put up?
Yes, and the problem that you're doing an extreme example of is very real. There's a whole lot of shit that's probably bad for you, and it's like you just don't have enough brain power in the day to go through all the things.
Yeah. Like everybody is having trouble with this. You take your highest functioning people in society, like they've got the crazy water filtration system installed in the house,
Mm-hmm.
so that you aren't getting estrogen from your shower head, for example. Like, first of all, who has time for that shit?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a little bit insane.
Shit?
Yeah, but you add all this stuff together, you're missing stuff. So it's gonna be
One thing that was cool today is this was advertised on underwear now. It's like, we've got antibacterial treatment things in your underwear. So it
Do not
keeps
want
it smelling fresh. We got weird antimicrobial like sprays that we sprayed your underwear already. It's like, oh yeah, thanks. I wanted more chemicals to bathe my testicles in.
That's probably what it is. It's just straight estrogen. They would.
And the thing is like, people still they grow old, they live a long time, they have kids.
Yeah, your grandpa is smoking the black tar straight out of the the cracks in the road.
So it's
It lives to 75.
there is a large pressure, but the pressure is not a spike. So the spikes, like getting stabbed in the gut, is very hard to survive on, right? That's a lot of force in a very short period of time. Your odds are not good. But a pressure over a long period of time, distributing that force, you can survive a long time with that. It may not be the best life, but you can survive.
Yeah.
And any kind of...
A little bit of it is even good for you.
Mm-hmm. And then any kind of resistance you have against that will... So if you can ease off that pressure just a tiny bit, it may not feel like much, but over the course of your life, it is a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
If you don't eat soybean oil for a day, big deal. If you don't eat it for most of your life, you're going to just magically be crazy. They're going to be like, oh, you got all the good genes as a kid, slurping on the Mountain Dew.
It's like, no, I just got the IQ genes that predict better choices on average.
Mm-hmm. So it is harder to build and it's very easy to destroy. But we're the best builders in all of the world, and we have built many great things, and it's entirely possible to get back going again. And in fact, the shittiest times in the world are when people are most likely to even acknowledge that there's a problem, right? This is the best chance to do something because people are just now going, oh, there's a dog eating my leg and he's gotten to about the thigh. I wonder if we should do something about this. Like, they didn't notice up to the knee, but once they get to the thigh, they're like, that's a lot of blood there. Is that my blood? Maybe I should call a dog catcher.
This is why I kept telling you on my crazy internet YouTube to get off the heroin, because it's telling you like there's nothing wrong when actually there was a dog eating your leg the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was sent by Mars Nazis from day one.
But like, if you're busy saying pit bulls are beautiful people even when they eat your dog, it's really tough. And when things are really good, it's easy to ignore a couple cases of that because it's not my problem. It didn't happen to me. It's not really, like, we can survive. But when people are really bad, it takes a very wise person to do the right thing when nothing's going wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The prevention is very hard to do. There's something in your brain that's like, let's not spend money on bullshit that might not work. Let's spend money on things that will work, right?
Yeah.
So
that's because we're bad at that kind of probability.
That's why it's a hallmark of wisdom, is because it's a very good thing, a universally recognized good thing that still few people can make themselves do because there's just something in you have to change. So prevention is wise, but and it's very hard. It's hard to get people on that. Be like, you'll be fat when you're 40. I don't care. I'm 20 now. That's a long time. So, but when you're 40 and fat, suddenly you are in the market for weight loss. The cure is very easy to sell to people. And it is much more expensive, which means it's like there's more oomph to be had there. There's more status or whatever you can get for it. Like the people saying immigration is bad and trying to turn back the boats were reviled a year ago, and now everybody's doing it. The people that if you wanna get ready for this, you need to buy yourself a helicopter and do helicopter tours on the coast, so you can start dropping people out of helicopters in the future when people are ready to roll up their sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be a lot of money. There's no money in saying things are bad when everybody's still doing all right. But it's like, hey man, we need to actually start killing people because this has gotten so bad that that's our only option. What do we got? And you've got, well, I got a helicopter. Millionaire. 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 So it's kind of sad, but it's also the only way people seem to work, especially in Crazy Town.
Yeah. And there does appear to be a sort of life cycle aspect to civilization too, right? Like it's easy to sell fertility drugs to a 35-year-old gal.
Yeah.
Less easy to sell beta provider to the 20-year-old gal.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with your sort of end of civilization type thing. Like easy to sell people. I was just reading that when I was posting up about that Kevin McDonald thing. Something about how like once Gentile societies come in or start having like serious competition from like the Jews, they're getting out of hand, then they suddenly become very comfortable with authoritative structures, political structures. and they become extremely tribal, and so he like blames Nazism on that and stuff. It's like it's very easy to sell people on
that's one
final
of those
solutions.
That's one of those, if you're bleeding out, suddenly you get a lot more clotting factor. For some reason, something in your body starts being like, we're bleeding out, time to put a lot of clot in to close up that hole.
Is there any way we could harvest that and sell it back to people? Like the pig blood stuff?
I don't know. That would be an interesting thing. But
I hear from those ads on Fashion Nation that we have to make it kosher.
Well, it's like if you're not going to fix your air conditioning if it's 40 degrees outside. Even though you know it's going to be summer, you're just not going to fix your air conditioning if it's 40 degrees outside. You're just not going to do it. You're going to be like, it's true that it will be summer again, but I really want to go to this golf game or something, You
want to hear a story from Low Agency Man?
Go for it.
Do you remember Low Agency Man from last week?
Curse you, Low Agency Man.
So Low Agency Man didn't even check to make sure that his air conditioning worked until he had already lost like 3 nights of sleep this summer because it was brutally hot. And then I finally relented and turned it on. I was like, I'll spend $2 worth of electricity tonight. Just, finally get some sleep. I hadn't even checked that it worked, so I had to learn how to turn the thing on, which turned out wasn't that hard.
Right,
so
and you would
I navigated that one.
You would think you would want to know if your AC works before you move into a place, but that is not the case.
No, I was convinced I wasn't going to use it. And now I'm all fat and degenerate, so I use it half the time.
You broke the seal.
Yep.
I think air conditioning is morally acceptable. I'm conferring with my scribes and priests over here. They're telling me thumbs up on air conditioning. It's a white man invention. And so it's really communing with the heritage of your ancestors to turn on the AC when it's hot.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's what your grandparents would want you to do. Be like,
what if I?
Your grandparents didn't starve to death in depression for you to forego the air conditioning and the blessings that they literally killed themselves to bring you.
Damn straight.
Just as long as you're having sex and giving grandkids.
So what if I only turned it on to cool off my mouth from the very spicy burrito that I'd just eaten?
I think that's acceptable.
Okay. Well, that was getting very degenerate.
On the one hand, it's spicy foods, and you really should be toughening that out.
Ah, yes.
But on the other hand, using white man tools to travail against a challenge is a good thing. If you're like, oh man, I put a spicy burrito in my mouth. It had pepper in it, chili pepper. It's hot. I'm dying.
Make me uncomfortable and moving around in my seat.
I must use all of my intellect and all of the tools of my ancestors to confront this vile dragon of chaos.
Oh man!
If you're in that position, then air conditioning is a tool of your ancestors, and therefore it's okay.
There you go. The dream spirit of the Neanderthal came to me.
Yeah, and blew in your mouth.
And I pushed the button to turn on my air conditioning.
My compass that always points true north pointed to the up arrow on my thermostat. Or the down arrow. The down arrow on my thermostat.
Oh good, you're mixing in some occult symbolism there too, so we can talk to all the Hermeticists out there.
There we go.
The up is also down.
Up is down, right is left, and I had a milkshake for breakfast.
I don't think I had breakfast or lunch. Now I think about it.
Well, breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Oh, hang on. No, I did. I had a beef taco thing that I make. So I cut a hamburger in half and put it on some cream cheese in the tortilla. Mm. And most of them, I ate the bad ones today, but all the other ones have fried up mushrooms and onions mixed in there, like what you made.
Yeah.
I've been making that all the time now, so I dressed it up real nice in there. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was good.
Oh, did I make that when you were down here?
Mm-hmm.
The onions and mushrooms and the ground beef?
The onions and the mushrooms, yes, and we had steaks with it.
Yeah.
But it was like a side. It was a general purpose side, and I was like,
yeah,
I could do that.
And it's nice at the grocery store you can get mushrooms that are pre-sliced.
Yep. And onions don't take that long to slice. I can get it done in about 45 seconds nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and onions are pretty easy.
And, I mean, ideologically, we are in favor of butter. So that makes cooking those super easy because it tastes great.
Mm-hmm.
I get, like, one onion and one of those packages of the mushrooms, maybe 3/4 of a stick of butter.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I usually stick a whole stick of butter in there, but 3/4 probably works too, just as well.
Yeah, I cook everything together, so I'm using, like, weird quantities.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got to make the butter last.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not that it does.
Steak. I had steak the other day. I like steak.
I like steak.
I like steak. I could sit here for 30 seconds talking about steak now. Steak. Anyway.
I still have about 2.5 pounds of cooked beef in foods in my fridge, and I'm resisting eating them right now because that has to last me the week.
Mm-hmm.
But I like beef.
2.5 pounds of beef for a whole week?
Yeah, I backed off. I used to eat a pound a day.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the good times. I should go back to that.
A pound a day will do it for you. Like, if you do... What I used to do was I'd have a pound a day, and I'd have like 1.5 pounds of vegetables, and cook it all in a pan with a stick of butter or something. One meal that'll fill you up about half. It'll fill you up eating half of that thing, and then dinner you have the other half of it, and that's food for an entire day.
Mm-hmm. And it's expensive, but that's why I have money now, is so that I can eat like that.
And ground beef is really not too expensive. It's expensive relative to rice and lentils and beans, but it is not expensive relative to breakfast cereal.
Oh, no, goodness.
Or potato chips, or any other bullshit that you might be eating instead.
Like I basically eat the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about, I don't think you eat bullshit, but like the hypothetical person.
Ah, okay. Yeah, well, breakfast cereal, there's a part of me that wants to go back and try some peanut butter crunch and see if it's as good as I remember, but I can't justify dropping $5 on 2 meals.
I can tell you right now, it is sad. You're like, oh, this is all sugary and grainy and gross. Is this what corn tastes like? Is this what puffed corn tastes like? Did I like this, or did I just put it in my mouth because it was there? What the hell?
Maybe it's just the associations with the Ninja Turtles from Saturday mornings.
No, it's really sad because there is not a lot of junk food that is good anymore after eating real food. Ice cream is, and that's one of the reasons I'm convinced that ice cream is healthy for you.
Interesting.
Because it still tastes good even when all my other junk food does not taste good.
That's an interesting theory that we ought to flesh out sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we just did. It's not a very hard one, but...
It's got fat.
So I had my thing that I used for a while, and basically came to the same conclusion as everybody else, right? There's a hierarchy of food where beef is at the top, and then your other meats, and then your vegetables, and then basically everything else. Maybe throw some dairy in there, unless you're not allowed anymore, because MM ruined it for you.
Basically the opposite of the original food pyramid. Just flip that one over.
Except for the sugars and fats thing. Like, you got to be kind of careful with that stuff. But if it's good fat, I don't think you can get too much of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is all your abstractions break down eventually. And so, like, they did a quote unquote keto diet test on rats. So there was a study on mice that keto was good for them, and there was a study on mice that came out that everybody's trumpeting. It's like, doctors have indicated keto is bad for you. So the one that positively affected the rats, they gave them lard, which is just beef fat. It's animal fat.
That sounds good.
The one where keto was bad for you, they gave them corn oil for 90% of the calories. Right.
Isn't that what you were saying would be like the normie
I fucking told
version?
You. I called it. The second keto becomes a thing, somebody's going to be like, see, soybean oil is low carb. It has 0 carbs. Soybean oil is good for you. Canola oil, you know what? It's amazing. It's so good for you.
And we're just going to inject it into everything that you eat without asking.
Yeah, the fun thing is that those are actually two oils that are not keto friendly, and they're not paleo, and nobody likes them. But those are the ones that get studied for the keto diet. Isn't that great? Isn't that fun?
That sounds like the sort of thing that would be nefarious, except that it was just incompetence, probably. Like some grad student wanted to make a point.
Yeah,
So they put out this shitty study, and then it gets picked up because some shitty person wanted to push that point.
everything is dumb. Like that, it's really hard to get actual knowledge because you think you know something, and then it turns out all of your different premises are on bullshit, outdated bullshit. Like this is actually what bugs me about the nutrition industry is that conscientious people that want to lose weight, that have the willpower and the lifestyle choices and the good habits to lose weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go, okay, let me look up the expert opinion on how to do this thing and then just follow it because that's how I get information. And they go and they say, hey, drink Slim Fast and don't eat any fatty foods. It's going to suck, but it totally works. And then it destroys them, and they go, well, I guess dieting is really bad, huh? And then you go over, have you tried eating steak and butter? No, I don't want to die. Oh, good, I would never eat those. And so nutrition has not only destroyed the Mountain Dew and macaroni and cheese people, it has destroyed the high-functioning conscientious people that now eat rice and gruel and soybean oil and think it's good for them. Like, oh, look, it's tofu. Oh, veganism. It's so healthy.
How do you know veganism is good? Because they will tell you over and over.
And it's like, that is still the fun part, how veganism became left-wing and then meat and steak became right-wing. And then you look at the people, and one of them look like one group of people look like they came out of a concentration camp. And the other group of people look like massive fucking dudes. And you're like, well,
Did I tell you about my idea of the little plush doll with the drawstring for a vegan?
I can see
saying
it.
vegan things. I have so much energy now. Is that bacon? That would be a good product.
Oh my god, this tofu almost looks like meat.
Nobody ever made a steak that tasted just like tofu. Do we want to complain more about Alex Jones, or no? We were supposed to figure out whether Q is real. Come to a conclusion.
Oh yeah, we were talking about Q way back when, huh? So I think Q is fake.
Who remembers? It's the current year now.
I don't even read Q, but based on the reaction to Q, and like it's a horoscope, and horoscopes are fake. That is my reasoning, because it's I got a link from Glossily of all people that had a person talking it down and basically saying, hey, look, Snowden did not give you 800 cryptic hints. Snowden downloaded a shit ton of government files and then dumped them on the internet, right?
Okay.
That is somebody that is actually real. Like, WikiLeaks published a whole bunch of fucking diplomatic cables. That's something real. WikiLeaks didn't say, oh man, there's this fucking thing. Oh, check the mystery. Oh, the thing, right?
Here's a name. I'm just going to drop this on you.
Yeah.
Now figure the rest out.
The storm is coming. Be patient, patriots. Be patient is somebody that's wasting your time. If somebody is telling you to sit on your ass and look at horoscopes all day, they are fucking you.
I guess the question is, what effect... I wouldn't know this because I'm not on the chans, but what effect has this had on the great machine learning algorithm known as weaponized autism? Has it had a good effect on it? Bad? I mean, what's their output like these days?
That's what I want to know. I know it's a thing. I'd have to be closer to the scene for that kind of thing. The one lady that was doing it was talking about how it started being like the storm is coming. We've got all these sealed indictments. We're going to get rid of all the people. And then it's like, yeah, and by the way, Snowden is a traitor, and we're going to take him out. And it's like,
you'd have to put in a little work to convince me that Snowden's a traitor.
And it's like, wait, what? Huh? The guy that told people about all the spying and stuff is now somebody you want to help bring in or something?
Well, that's like when anonymous conservative just randomly goes off on Iran. It's like, what's your deal with Iran? Why are you so convinced that Iran is like the central like government of, or like HQ of Cabal? It's just like people have these weird ass. I don't know. It could just be that Q is not smart.
Mm-hmm.
That happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we address this problem, whether Q is real or not?
Well, here's
the line
the
of
deal
reasoning?
with it. From what I understand, Q is basically giving people the story that they are super smart people and that there's a conspiracy of patriots at the highest level that are going to solve all their problems for them. And all you have to do is follow some breadcrumbs that anybody could figure out was going on.
Okay.
And then, because like the Crazy Days and Nights guy actually he does the cryptic hint thing and then reveals it later.
I don't know that one.
The Crazy Days and Nights guy is this Hollywood lawyer that does Hollywood gossip.
Oh, so he's the one that says like Spacey's next, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's
Shit.
like this soon-to-be disgraced A-list Hollywood guy has not fallen nearly as far as he's going to yet. And then in the news, you see some dude that gets another 18 different accusations on him, and you go, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah, I think I've seen a couple posts of that dude.
Yeah, so it's somebody who's in the position to know that gives off the cryptic hints and then reveals the riddle, and it's kind of a fun thing. And so it's a canary in the coal mine for something that was already coming out. Or that something that is going on and has not been revealed yet, but is definitely real. I think you could do a comparison of Crazy Days and Nights to Q and see what things Q have said that has been like something that you wouldn't have. Like, the thing is that you have all these different pattern recognition devices in your brain. And so you can say, 42, eels, the Battle of West Hampshire, find the pattern. And people will find the pattern. They'll find the pattern. People were talking about in Portal 2, or in Portal, the video game, Gladys is this robot that hangs from the ceiling. And somebody was like, oh yeah, just like that Greek mythology thing, with this woman being bound up and hung from the ceiling. And they were like, cool, we didn't do that. But it's cool that you found that parallel. That's nice, man. Like,
oh, that sounds kind of Jungian.
They had no idea that they were doing that kind of thing, but somebody found the pattern to match.
Yeah, I assume that's true with like half of the stuff I come up with for like anime and stuff.
A lot of the stories repeat, and a lot of the stories, like, for the stories to be emotionally resonant, they have to talk to something that's already in you, right? So if you ping off that thing, people find their own personal interpretation of it, and they match it to something that's in them, and then they credit you for it, which is great. It's a great gig.
Yeah, that's part of why art works. Is the artist doesn't necessarily have to be aware of what they're doing. So I still haven't figured out exactly how to analyze the problem of whether Q is fake news or not.
Well, you don't do a true or false thing. You throw a question mark in that grid, and then you evaluate it later.
Well,
So
I
you
suppose I
can't
could
say-
ask like a series of questions like, does this person actually have access to privileged information? Are they actually... So, it's...
The way I was going about it, because I don't have a shit ton of time to go through it all, is
All right.
to do the heuristic thing and figure out if it is worth the time to take it seriously. And so it's like, okay, what is the message of Q? The message of Q is scour through random obscure things to find connections to things so that you can be like, oh man, it's totally true and I'm super smart, while a bunch of people higher up than you take care of it for you. Like, Nobody is saying call your congressman and talk to him about your Q today or something like that. Nobody is saying Q is not going, these 23 people are pedophiles, email CNN or something like that. Like Gamergate got advertisers dropped by emailing advertisers and being like, did you know that these guys did this thing?
Mm-hmm.
So there's very little actual direct action. There is a promise of angels sorting it out for you so you can sit on your butt. And you can sit on your butt and feel morally superior and intellectually superior to other people while you're doing that. And I'm always very suspicious about those things. Those gigs usually do not pan out the way you want them to.
Gotcha. Do you think that that is an intentional message of the Q person?
I don't know.
Do you think they're doing it for like attention? Like that's the most obvious.
I don't know if it's an intentional thing. I know Heaviside said Q is disinfo, and if Heaviside and Glossily are agreeing on something, I'm going to pay attention to that.
It's a very good point. I got to throw more names in there. MM agrees.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks Q's fake news.
Yeah.
That's the only one, actually.
So you got three relatively disagreeable people that definitely disagree with each other.
They certainly wouldn't agree with each other on purpose.
Yeah. This would not be a thing that they would do if they wanted to. This would be, man, I really wish that I could be the only one doing this, and everyone else was disagreeing with me. So that's worth paying attention to me.
All right. On the other hand, CNN says it's fake news.
Yeah, and see, that's
what
another
say you
thing.
to that? Aha, checkmate.
It's a good point. No, that's what I'm saying, is that's the problem with the really high-level heuristics that aren't paying attention at all, is that you're not really paying attention to the thing, so you're just kind of jerking around. You're a kite in the wind, man.
Do we have any heuristics to apply to our stack of heuristics here?
I would say that it's probably, like, CNN doesn't like things that frog people do. CNN is putting chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay. So
yeah.
It's highly possible that they're like, well, Alex Jones likes it. How do we fuck this up for these people?
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm inclined to say that they saw an opportunity to discredit somebody. Mm-hmm. In this case, would be like to get Alex Jones showed.
Yeah.
And they took it. It's like the Charlottesville thing, right? Mm-hmm. They saw an optics opportunity, and they didn't give a shit whether it was giving the wrong attention or what it was representing. They were just like, this is close enough to something that we can use, that we can run with it.
That might have to be our next topic too, if we got time. That's coming back. That happened yesterday, apparently, or today. That's happening today.
What, Unite the Right stuff?
Yeah.
They were going to D.C. last I heard. So we know there's a lot of garbage people you can ship into D.C. to get that sort of thing shut down. Well, it'll probably turn out okay because, like, you're going to have a lot more people trying to infiltrate it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be difficult to overestimate how much they learned from that. And when I say they, I'm talking about proper organizers of the thing. Like, there were many, many lessons from Charlottesville. I think you're going to see a very different sort of rally. Very different sorts of mechanics at play here, where everybody has adapted a lot. And it's going to be a question, really, of who adapted better.
Mm-hmm. I know they had the Patriot Prayer thing in Portland, and that did not go very well for Antifa. The fun thing for me is people on the right. A lot of people had agreed that, you know what, the best idea is to say you're having the rally and then not have it.
And that worked for a good while. Probably still does.
Well, apparently they had they were originally going to have the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville again, and then at the last minute they got denied the permit.
That's for the best. That would have been a bad idea.
Well, it's kind of funny that it's the last minute they got denied the permit, because usually you get those set up in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually you had the permit and they revoke it during the rally. So
doing it in D.C. is a great idea because it's implicitly political territory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you shut somebody down in Charlottesville, that, for all you know, that could be the Taliban. But if it's in D.C., then it's a political march, and there's no two ways about it. It's a question of free speech.
Yeah.
Like anybody will put the 2 cents together on that.
But the fun part is you've got a bunch of people and Antifa that were busted in Charlottesville, and there were no Nazis there. There are no protesters there, right? So what did they do? They ran around for most of the day yelling "fuck cops, fuck police," and started hitting journalists.
That was Charlottesville. Oh,
That was Charlottesville yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Just a shit ton. They're like, oh, protesters protest Nazism, a year anniversary of Charlottesville, and it's like it's getting reported as if the Unite the Right people were never going to be there in the first place. Like it was only about the Antifa showing up, and they just forgot that the Antifa were coming up to bust skulls of these guys that no longer existed.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of the fake ones that came out lately. I bet that was a pretty big one though, because it's the big comeback.
My favorite thing is that it's being described by The Hill as a peaceful white supremacist, a peaceful anti-white supremacist protest, right? When you get a bunch of fucking assholes around, throw bottles at people and punch journalists, what do you call it? A peaceful? What do the journalists call it? They call it a peaceful anti-white nationalist protest. That's what they call it. It's a peaceful protest when they're punching you in the face, and it's one of those. That's a level of not disavowing your extremists. That's just, I'm almost impressed by it.
Yeah, you got to give them props for holding the faith.
And a lot of the coverage is just pretending that it doesn't exist. They just don't notice it. It's just like, oh yeah, these guys showed up and they were like, we hate Nazis and good for them. And you're just like, why do you have a black eye, son? Nothing. I fell down some stairs. Okay.
That's a great way to put it. But
if it would be sad because basically journalists are the abusive wives of power.
Often, literally, that we're seeing with a lot of the stuff that's coming out of the journalism in power types, like
yeah. Well, you just sleep with the congressman. That's how I get my leads.
Well, it's worse than that because they basically have their own version of the casting couch in New York style newsrooms. Mm-hmm. And now they're starting to Me Too the producers and what have you. But I mean,
yeah,
you know that shit was going on for. You know it's worse than they're letting on.
Yeah, so that's actually a nice thing. If you ever want to stop people accusing you of sexual misconduct for having a stable household, you can just start a Me Too movement and start looking into your opponents. Like, people were all upset where it's like, well, we spent 5 years saying that all women must be believed 100% of the time, even in the most ridiculous circumstances, and now they're saying we did it. And overnight it's like, well, you know, these people have done a lot for the cause, and maybe we'll think about this. You know, this person may not be the most trustworthy source to be getting, and it's just like, you can't do it at this point, right? You spent 5 years being like, no, even under the most ridiculous circumstances, you've got to believe the women. And it's like, Bill Cosby raped me. Shit. Harvey Weinstein raped me. Shit. Fuck. What are we going to do with this? We said we believe them. We preemptively believe them. How are we going to fuck this up?
I like how he comes out and says, everybody was doing it.
Yeah. Kevin Spacey. Wait, is it Kevin Spacey? Yeah, he was like, well, you know, I'm gay, so that's normal for me. I just didn't want to tell anybody.
Oh, shit. Yeah, see, this is actually normal for our community, and you know, it should be normal.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
No, wait. We're backing off on that one a little bit right now because of the whole Trump thing.
Sorry for beating my 14-year-old rent boy, but I'm gay. So that's just kind of what you expect, right? Yes, that was amazing.
Yes, I did give him AIDS, but we like that in our community.
Yeah, so it's like the people that are getting publicly pointed out and being hung up to dry are like, oh hell no, I'm not going down without you. You're not getting it on me for this. Everybody did this. These guys did this. I'm going to point fingers.
That's one downside of being
I'm going out
involved with a
flaming
shitty bunch of people.
because I'm gay.
Yeah,
it's
did you find anything about that Unite the Right thing? I didn't even look.
I looked it up. Unite the Right too. They're now saying that the reason they didn't show up is because the nationalist movement is in disarray or whatever. So it's like, oh, they didn't show up because they're too pussy to show up. So we just had to kick over a bunch of trash cans and show them what for, right?
Right.
Which some of this stuff is true, where it's like, yeah, let's not go show up and get our ass kicked by a hostile field of people, right? It's a lot of infiltrators and random shit.
I think it is also true to an extent that the nationalist stuff is in disarray, but I think it is also finding its way back together. Like I think there's a bit of optimism in the air that I wasn't feeling a month ago.
The energy shift.
Yep, it's that polar phase shift. It's the North Pole has moved to its new location.
Well, you're feeling the rumbling. I was looking at Sweden, and apparently they're far right. What passes for far right in Sweden? Their hardline anti-immigration party got 25% of the vote, and they're the largest party around now. And the Dimsbogs guy is talking about this. He's lived through a couple of these, where it's like everybody agreed that this thing is wrong and horrible, and then the next day everybody agrees that that thing is amazing and the best thing ever, and nobody remembers it ever being otherwise.
You see that with a lot of people in the alt-right even.
He gave the example of Stephen Colbert, where...
oh yeah, I saw that video where he's talking to the audience about Comey getting fired.
Yeah, Comey's fired. Boo! Yeah. No, they were all cheering. Yeah, Comey's an asshole. No, we like him now. It's bad. Boo! Yeah, fuck that guy. And now Comey's doing staring at Iowa cornfields and being a patriot now. And he's a good guy. We like Comey. Isn't it funny how that works?
That is a great example.
So it's like it is entirely possible that you wake up one day and your lefty faggot friend is like, "What? We've always thrown communists out of helicopters. That's just who we are as a nation."
And you look at him funny. It's like, all right, I'm still not trusting you with a gun.
Well,
but...
Deus Vult, motherfucker. All right, cool. You play the Who and you say we won't get fooled again, and you know you're gonna get fooled again. That's why you're praying.
Well, that's why these historical cycles happen, is because it's hard to do. Like we're talking about trying to apply binary thinking to a statistical problem, which is like people have their set points and then they have their environments and then you adjust, right?
Well, it's just reactions to a systemic pressure kind of thing, and people can push this and you can finagle it. If anything, we've seen how malleable this process is with the media campaigns and everything. People can believe random shit just because they get told that 100 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
But
and sure, some people are more likely to believe something else, but how do you even measure that? It's like, let's say I'm 2% more likely than average to be a libertarian or something. How do you even... You can't. That would be a difficult problem to solve. If you're talking about like doing eugenics on people based on people's beliefs, it's like you can't.
Yeah.
That's.
But it's like zooming out. When everybody's rich, people are a little bit more lazy with their spending. There was this one con lady that was going through and trying to open an art museum despite being a complete charlatan and just staying in a hotel. And she sent some wire receipts to people and be like, yeah, I'm totally good for it. I just need $5,000. Can I get that for you real quick? And the guys are so rich, they're like, yeah, she seems good for it. It was only $5,000, right?
That sounds like the Theranos entire business strategy.
Yeah, so it's like once you're rich and you can, and $5,000 is like $5 to us, you don't really watch that thing, right? It's actually a waste of your time and attention to figure out exactly where this $5,000 is going because you've got enough of it.
You make that snap judgment, and you need to diversify anyway, right? That's what they all tell you.
It's like picking pennies off the street or whatever. Bill Gates is losing money picking pennies off the street. It's not worth his time. So, in a real sense, just like prosperity, like the phrase, like the strong men make good times make weak men make hard times make strong men, or that whole thing. Yeah. Like there's a thing to it.
Oh yeah. And I don't think you can really like you aren't going to take that wobble out of the graph.
Mm-hmm.
That sine wave out.
So it's like you can do smart things that last for a long time, and you can do horrible things that have bad repercussions for a long time. And so you can do things in the world, but also the world, like you can't stop the sun from rising and setting in the sky. Maybe eventually somebody can, but right now it's going to go up tomorrow. Like
and it's hard to make the long-term engineering changes. Like you remember when that dude, it might have even been you, pointed out like if you do mandatory intravenous the IVF, what's that? The in vitro fertilization. It's like what you're going to have there is the people who are best at becoming doctors at IVF clinics are going to be the ones who reproduce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was me.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
That is just the basic consequence of the system. When you said it was a rhetorical thing, I figured you might be doing the big ask so you can compromise down to a normal position. You there? I think we might have technical issues here. Oh. Well, to fill in the people while we're figuring this out, Aoli was saying, hey man, you know what? We gotta have mandatory fertilization of fertile women in fertility clinics. We just
Were you able to hear my laughing there?
I heard that laugh.
Okay.
And the result of that is like, well, the thing that's already happening in these places is that when you freeze your eggs and get them artificially fertilized, somehow the fertilization clinic guy is the one having your baby.
Yes. The rhetorical aspect of that was getting somebody to accept the premise by distracting them with a weird solution.
Yeah, the premise is, of course, we've got to figure out how to control women's wombs. It's just how are we going to do it?
Right. Versus what I was...
So you can compromise and say, I guess we should just have traditional marriage instead of this thing.
Yeah, it was what do you call it, an ACC hack?
Yeah.
Where you throw out the error and then somebody engages with the problem that way. They're like, no, that's not how you would do that because it wouldn't work. How you would really do it is like this.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're arguing for doing the thing that you wanted all along.
Right. It's Scott Adams' version of that was saying, well, how much am I willing to give up for each immigrant coming in?
Mm-hmm.
How many $1,000 am I willing to pay per person to save them from their horrible circumstances in Venezuela? Not that that's real, because socialism actually works. But we're just saying, like, if the capitalist pig dogs weren't ruining socialism for them in Venezuela.
And they're like, actually, maybe zero? Zero sounds like a good amount. Maybe 1,000. And then you're like, actually, it's 100,000. Oh.
Oh, well, I guess we can have 3. No, I can't afford 3 of them. Shoot. Maybe this is more than just having the sign at the border saying, refugees welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's one of those ones you can say, well, you're already paying for this right now, right?
And
it's
this is
only
why
going to get increased.
Your job sucks. This is why your job sucks, and this is why you don't have any money. And the rent is too damn high.
Yep.
It's because you're paying those property taxes, which are being spent on not you.
Not you.
Not you. It's not going in the roads.
It is really weird that it's like, hey, maybe America should be for Americans. What? That's Nazi speak. That's hate speech. That was a weird squeaky noise.
Oh, I might be talking to my external mic here.
I think you might be talking to your external mic.
If it's loud enough, it's good enough.
It's sounding like you're underwater now. A little bit.
Try to fix it.
technology.
Yeah.
How it do.
People think it be like it ain't.
But it do.
No, people think it ain't be like it is, but it do.
But it do.
I
Man,
screwed it up.
but it do is a pretty good. But it do. That's a good.
That's right.
I might have to get that. Yeah, bring it in with a that's right. That's right is a good one. But okay, I guess we've gone to a bunch of different places now. What do? We did barrel roll guy. We did, is Q real? We did a whole lot on food in the medical industry, and homeschool or die. Don't go to surgery. Don't get a steroid shot in your knee. Squats, deadlifts, and meat and vegetables. What else did we get here? Charlottesville. Are you still there? I think your mic might be cutting out again. But I think this is a pretty good bit here, and we are conveniently at an hour and 31 minutes. So if you want to fix your mic, and maybe we could do the sign off, because it'd be kind of weird to just do it this way. And if you want to keep talking, I'm good with that too.
Trying now. How's that?
That's not too bad.
Okay. Am I underwater again?
It sounds like it's the same mic as before. See, this is the real secret to how you know if you're speaking truth to power. If they try to shut you down. Microsoft has a cutoff thing here.
Right. There's no such thing as globalists, and if you say that there is, they kick you off of YouTube.
That is still really funny, man. Look, this guy says there's a war out there for your mind, and people believe him. How do we convince people that there's not a conspiracy to suppress alternative points of view in the media? Yeah, the media is not a monolith. How can we agree on a plan that we can all follow to shut this guy down?
First, a couple days before, disseminate to all of the networks across the nation this exact script. Which says that Alex Jones is terrorizing people whose kids were at, what was it?
Sandy Hook.
Fort Hood. Sandy Hook.
Yeah, let's get all the news articles people to lie about Sandy Hook. And
then cut all their sources of funding at the same time.
And then we'll cut off his banks and his MailChimp and everything.
Then we'll put a video up of our agents shooting him in the back of the head in a dark van.
And it'll rule it a suicide. That'll prove to people that he's just a conspiracy nut. We'll crack that conspiracy nut in his skull.
That's right.
All right, good job. Fuck America. Yeah. Why do they think we're the enemy of the people? I don't know, man, but fuck America.
Why does everybody hate us every time?
That is it's just, and it's every day, this juxtaposition, right? How can we get this guy fired and ruin his life for believing something different than us? Yeah, we could probably, stalk him and harass him at his house and then call his employer and get him fired and publicly gloat about that. Yeah, that sounds like a good afternoon. Man, why do people hate us? I don't understand it.
Who was that dude that was running for Congress and body slammed a reporter and everybody loved it?
That needs to happen more often, man.
I think it was in Montana or something.
You make it a pro wrestling thing?
It already is. You just gotta go legit with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just ride that train all the way to the end.
And then you start joking in the opposite direction. It's like, yeah, no, we would never throw journalists off of helicopters. It's just a funny joke.
Come on. Mr. Camacho is only joking.
Kill yourself with a brick in Minecraft. I've seen a few of those. So, in
The
conclusion, journalists really are the enemy of the people. There's not been a single war they haven't sent somebody else off to die for, and now they're covering for guys throwing pedophile theme parties and being like, it's just a nice joke. I know we fired Roseanne, and we fired Paula Deen, and we fired everybody else we didn't like, but this pedophile guy's legit. All right.
yeah, I like how this is the guy that they choose to circle the wagons on.
This is where we say enough is enough.
This is where we draw the line. But you still have to make that cake.
Yeah. What a bigot. You're a bigot, folks. All right, Porky Pig. You realize, Porky Pig, that you're not halal, and you're going to get exterminated by the people you're voting to come into the country. Oh, shit, folks.
That's a good sign off.